He's a bit cynical, a bit melancholic, so he takes a bit of a dark view of human nature. But you remember in Jaques, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, you know that one? He talks about the infant, the schoolboy, the lover, the soldier, the justice, the pantaloon, and then the second childishness. And this is because Shakespeare was experiencing in around 1600 the very last remnant of this ancient knowledge of the sevenfold development of our lives. After this we got into natural science, and then the billions and the big zeros came, and we forgot all about this qualitative understanding of time. We got into just counting the millions. But that sevenfoldness is there in Shakespeare as well. So, the number of the beast. I want to talk about the number of the beast, the name of the beast, and the date of the beast. The number of the beast. First, 666. What is this? As I said, in the Apocalypse there are four beasts. There's the dragon, which first is in heaven, and then is cast down onto the earth. Then comes the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, which rises from the sea. And this beast has the body of a leopard. If you remember, a leopard's basically, remember what a leopard looks like? Yellow with red black spots, yeah? The body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, and a mouth like a lion. And the main characteristic of this beast is blasphemy. Insults against the Spirit, against God. And then comes the 2-horned beast. That's the one we want to look at. But this beast comes from the earth. And later on in the book, this beast is referred to as by the name the false prophet. Because we can see that this beast serves the one that came before it. And this beast gets humanity to accept the one that came before it. So these two beasts, the 7 heads and 10 horns from the sea, and the 2-horned beast from the earth, whose speciality is deceptive images, deception in what is truth and lies, and marks, getting people to accept marks. This is what this beast specializes in. These two are very closely related, and you see that right through the book of Revelation after they appear. And finally, there is, what I'm not going to talk about, there is the mystery Babylon, a woman who rides on a scarlet beast, another red beast, which also has 7 heads and 10 horns. And those are the 4 beasts. And now I'd like to introduce you to the 4 counterforces who were described in the picture that, for example, Rudolf Steiner gives. You see, at the time of, around the time of Christ, the people who were interested in spirituality, whether they were Gnostics or whether they were Christians or whoever they were, gradually, this is a slow process, gradually people lost the ability to see into the spiritual world. Human beings lost the ability to see into the spiritual world. Only a very few people could still do that naturally, by virtue of being human. Why did we lose that? We lost it because we were developing something else. Just like a little child loses its capacities and its innocence because it gains something else. The little child, as it grows up, learns to understand the world, learns to reason, learns to calculate, learns to be comfortable in this 3D existence. Yeah? Similarly, our ancestors lost the capacity naturally to see into the spiritual world, and they gained intellectual reasoning. Now some of you might think, oh, what a drag. That's a bit of a downer. Yeah? Pity that happened. But no, folks, that's not the case. Because without that, we would never have developed any science or any technology worth the candle. And we would not have all of this, and the lights, and the heating, and all the rest of it. Yeah? This was all necessary to develop our thinking, to live comfortably in this physical world. But for a time, we had to lose our capacity to see into the other world. The loss of the capacity to see into the other world meant that the spiritual authorities of those days, the priests and the doctors of the church as they were known, they no longer had this ability either, true spiritual ability, true clairvoyant ability. What they now had was logic, dogma, canons of the church and so on, rules and regs. Yeah? And this meant that they started to fundamentally misunderstand the very things that they were representing. So they could no longer understand, what is the relationship between the Father and the Son and the Holy Trinity? Are they the same, or are these two the same? And as you know, they fought about this, they argued with each other. In the end, they often even killed each other over it. But that wasn't all. They also lost the understanding of the counterforces. They lost a real understanding of what's the difference between Lucifer and Satan and Beelzebub and Mammon. Who are these beings? They lost that. And so, having lost it, what they did was they mishmashed them all together in one big being who they pretended that they were all the same being, and they called them either the devil or Satan or Lucifer. They just said, well, this is the same being with different names. And that dogma continued right through the history of Western Christianity until the 20th century. And I think, for me, as far as I've come across, the person who brought the most light into understanding what is the difference between these beings was, in fact, Rudolf Steiner. And he came up with, this is a sort of condensation of really what he was saying, that Lucifer is a being who attacks the human being through our feeling life. Satan, to whom he gave the name Ahriman, is a being who attacks the human being through our thinking. This is where truth and lies come in. Through how we understand the world. And as a result of this understanding, Satan is able to bring us into materialistic enslavement. A radical example of that, of course, was the Nazi death camps. And then there's a third category of demonic, if you will, or counterforce beings